Good afternoon. I'm Janel Heinrich, the Director of Public Health, Madison, Dane County. Thank you for coming today. It is with great hope and excitement that I am here to announce that we will not be issuing a new order once the current order expires on June 2nd. We have come to this decision because of our county's steep decline in COVID activity, incredible progress in vaccination, and the science that shows how effective the COVID vaccines are. Dane County is doing incredibly well. We are one of the most highly vaccinated counties in the entire country. As of this morning, 63% of Dane County residents have had at least one dose. Our case counts have dropped dramatically. Our 7-day average of cases per day is at 25, levels which we have not seen since last June, even as variants have become more predominant. We have been in a stable or declining state of COVID activity with daily increasing vaccine coverage for almost all of 2021. There is simply less and less COVID virus circulating in our communities thanks to the incredible effectiveness of COVID vaccines. Our public health order will end on June 2nd. At that time, we estimate that nearly 75% of our eligible Dane County population will be vaccinated, meaning all those ages 12 and up. After June 2nd, the requirements in the orders will become recommendations. We know that there may be people and businesses out there who still want to wear masks after the orders expire. We know that masks provide protection to the wearer and are an effective tool to use to prevent the transmission of illness. For others, know that being vaccinated is your best protection that you can receive, and that it is a safe choice for most vaccinated people to choose to not mask up. We recommend that people think about where their comfort levels are and make personal and business decisions that best support your level of comfort with the risks or best support your health. This is a time of transition for us all, and some of us will be more ready to embrace these changes to our routines than others. On June 2nd, any option you choose is the right option for you, and I hope that we are all able to respect the choices of others without judgment. Children under 12 cannot yet be vaccinated, which may make decisions for some families more difficult. Until your child can be vaccinated, the CDC recommends that they should continue to mask indoors and socially distance and to avoid large crowds where they would not be able to distance. This may be the right choice for some people who are immunocompromised as well. Even if your whole family is not vaccinated, there are so many more doors open for families this summer than last. From parks to sports to the zoo and more, there are many opportunities to have fun and safely socialize. It has been a very long road of restrictions during this pandemic, ones that were very important and necessary to keep Dane County residents safe and healthy, but have also been incredibly difficult. The pandemic started with decisions no one wanted to make, to shut down and to stay home to slow the spread of the virus. 1 year ago today, on May 18th, 2020, we put out our first Forward Dane plan, a framework to navigate this pandemic locally. And finally, 1 year later, we can see the end in sight. By staying home, socially distancing, and wearing masks, we were able to protect each other and care for each other. Thanks to your incredible efforts. We have one of the lowest death rates in the state, despite being a population center, and we are now leaders in vaccine coverage. Our community has been supported with a robust network of testing and vaccine providers, as well as an amazing contact tracing team. Although orders will end, these efforts will continue. We will continue to make testing available, support vaccine access, and follow up with people who test positive to prevent the spread of COVID to others. We hope that one by one, as people continue to make the choice to get the vaccine, we will see the pandemic continue to fade out. As we transition into this new time of widespread vaccination, we are able to move past policy requirements and into a time of joy and celebration. Hugging or sharing a meal with our loved ones, listening to live music, or taking a trip. We are not yet back to normal, but we are at a point where the light is growing brighter every day. I am deeply grateful for all that the people of Dane County have given this past year. Thank you for caring for each other, for doing the hard work to get us to this place of celebration. And thank you to everyone who has gotten vaccinated so far. If you haven't had the chance, I encourage those who are not yet vaccinated to head over to the Alliant Energy Center or to find another accessible vaccine clinic today to get your dose. Together, through getting vaccinated, we will have a summer of celebration and joy. Thank you.
Thank you, Janel. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm County Executive Joe Parisi, and thank you to Janel and her team for the heroic job you have done over the past 14 months. And before I give my remarks, I also want to thank the folks who are here today, the members of the media. You've been with us since that very first press conference we were just reminiscing about in my crowded conference room about 14 months ago when we first learned that we were facing a pandemic. And your role has been critical in reaching out to the community and helping to inform and educate the community along the way, and we thank you. By continuing our masking requirement for a couple more weeks, Dane County continues to take deliberate, measured steps toward reopening. We think it's important to give people time to adjust and prepare for the time when masking requirements will be loosened, as well as for our successful vaccination numbers to increase even more. In the coming weeks, when we move into the next phase, one in which masking regulations will be relaxed, we'll need people to remember that if you are not fully vaccinated, wearing a mask is not just about you, it's about your neighbors who are unable to be vaccinated due to their age or a medical condition. Just as we have done throughout the pandemic, we need to continue to watch out for one another and to work to protect those who are more vulnerable than ourselves. And for people who will be vaccinated but not yet fully comfortable removing their mask in public, that's okay too. We've all been through a lot, and it's going to take time for us all to adjust. In the coming weeks, some local businesses may choose to continue requiring everyone to mask up while in their establishments, and that's okay. It's their right, and their decisions should be respected. When we venture out into this new environment, we'll all need to be very understanding of one another. When we held our first COVID press conference over a year ago, I said this crisis would have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And today, while work still remains, and after a very long middle, that end is in sight. I also said that as long as we watched out for one another, we would all have someone watching out for us. And that's exactly what happened. As we look back over the past 14 months, our community has much to be proud of. We came together, we made sacrifices, we supported one another, we took care of one another. And when the vaccine became available, we stepped up and became a national leader in vaccine distribution and uptake. We will remain forever grateful to our healthcare providers, our first responders, and our public health professionals for the sacrifices they've made and the lives they've saved. And we will always remember those who lost their lives to COVID-19, along with their families and those who cared for them. Today, as we enter what is hopefully the final stretch of this most challenging journey and the beginning of our journey back, we do so with a new and greater sense of community and an appreciation for what really matters. I'd like to say thank you to each and every member of our community for the sacrifices you have made, for adhering to guidelines, for being there for one another, and for demonstrating once again what is so uniquely special about this place we call home. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Madison, Mayor Satya, Rhodes-Conway. Thank you all for being here, and I want to add my thanks to the county executives to the work that the media has done over the past year plus. Not since the flu pandemic of 1918 has humanity faced a public health crisis of this magnitude. But there is something different about this pandemic. And that difference is the robust, transparent, and fast-moving science that has responded to it. When Madison faced our first case in February of 2020, our public health department, our university, and our hospital systems leapt into action to learn everything they could about this virus and the threat it posed to our community. Since then, our public health director, Janel, the county executive, and I have met almost weekly to share information and perspectives, to discuss emerging issues, to debate disagreements, and to constantly reference the data to make sure that we were on course. This process resulted in remarkable agreement and a desire to be guided by the science at each step of this pandemic. And once again, we are following the science today. We estimate that by June 2nd, when our public health orders are set to expire, that 75% of our eligible Dane County population will be vaccinated. This is a remarkable achievement. And not only will it be one of the highest rates of vaccination in the country, but it is a layer of protection that will lift our whole community. Many will not be comfortable right away moving to a maskless environment. That's okay. As more science rolls in, I know that people's confidence in these next steps will grow. In the meantime, I think it's important that we look back over a remarkable year. Last March, we were the first community in the state to issue public health orders restricting mass gatherings. We were among the first to produce a data dashboard, to set up mass testing sites and mass vaccination sites. All our actions have been driven with an equity focus on those who are most vulnerable to COVID-19. That focus continues as we keep pushing to lift vaccination rates in those communities. At the city, we set up an emergency operations center that is still meeting today. Thousands of city workers never paused in providing essential services, including first responders, metro bus drivers, garbage collectors, and countless others. Protesters showed up at the state capitol building, City Hall, and, yes, at Janel's home, demanding that we bow to considerations other than science and the best interests of our community. Too many lawsuits were filed against our orders, but once again, science prevailed. Our statewide leadership in this area was recognized by the Wisconsin Association of Local Health Departments and Boards, and our public health director, Janel Heinrich, was recently named the Public Health Officer of the Year. If there's ever a year to garner this award, this is it. Thank you, Janel, for your leadership. And while many people have gotten sick and too many have died, our case counts were consistently lower than other places around the state and country. By following the science, we kept our community as safe as we could. And now we lead the nation in vaccinations, especially for folks over 65, a group that is over 90% vaccinated. Our youngest are working hard to catch up, with 16% of 12 to 15-year-olds having their first dose after only a week of being eligible. That's great progress. And yet again, we need to follow the science. The science shows that there is very low risk to anyone who has been fully vaccinated, and that it is safe for us to start taking off our masks. The science shows that if you are not vaccinated, you are much safer if you do mask up. The science shows that masks remain an effective tool, not just against COVID, but against colds and the flu. The science shows that we're all safer if employees are able to take paid time off when they are ill. with COVID or anything else. And the science shows that discrimination on the basis of race, gender, or other factors, including whether or not you wear a mask, harms our health and the health of our community. All along, our goal has been to preserve the capacity of our hospital systems to provide care and to offer the best guidance possible to our community on how we can all keep ourselves and each other safe. Now it's clear. The best way to keep ourselves and each other safe is to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Once we do, we no longer need the other tools we've been relying on this whole long year. Of course, each one of us has to make our own decisions about what is best for us, our families, and our workplaces. Businesses may decide to keep masking requirements indoors, and I support them doing so. Individuals may choose to keep wearing masks, and I support them in doing so. And we should all keep washing our hands. And we should all get vaccinated. To those who are fully vaccinated, thank you. To those who are one shot in, don't forget to come back for your second shot. And for those who haven't gotten a shot yet, what on earth are you waiting for? The science is clear. The COVID-19 vaccines are safe and extraordinarily effective, and they are very easy to get here in Madison. As a community, we should be proud of the way we've weathered this pandemic. I'm thankful to have such great partners in Janel and the county executive. And I'm thankful to live in a place that believes in science and cares for each other so deeply. Thank you. We'd be happy to take questions.
What would you say to parents of kids under the age of 12 who might not feel safe taking their kids out to places once the order expires?
Well, I'm one of those parents. I have a child who is not yet eligible, and we will likely stay masked. He will stay masked when we are in places where folks are unmasked. And the first thing that I'll do, and I encourage everyone to do while keeping your children masked, if they aren't eligible for a vaccine, is to get vaccinated when they're eligible. So I think those are choices that families are going to need to make. They're hard. They may not be the same for everyone, but wear a mask for those who aren't vaccinated and keep our kiddos safe.
I talked to 3 business owners today, and all of them told me they are planning to keep requiring masks, whether the order was lifted or not. Do you have any recommendations for them at all about how to keep encouraging that compliance when it's only required in their spaces and not required by the county?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of your question.
I talked to a couple business owners today, and all of them are planning to keep requiring masks in their stores, in their spaces. What advice would you have for them if they're now a little worried that their compliance won't be as high, even though they're requiring it in their physical space?
I think it's a great, if businesses are going to continue to require masks, I think it's great. If it is challenging for folks to wear a mask, we're still asking people to get vaccinated, and our vaccine coverage is so high, we have added layers of protection, but it's absolutely okay to continue to wear those masks.
We've seen nationwide chains like Walmart, Costco, Trader Joe's say that they're dropping the mask requirement for fully vaccinated people. Is this still going to be enforced, even in those establishments here in Dane County until June 2nd?
So we assume that folks will continue to follow the local orders here in Dane County.
What's the rationale for waiting until June 2nd as opposed to dropping it?
I think one of the things that we've learned is that the way that the CDC has kind of rolled out this updated science so abruptly has created a little bit of confusion. It allows us more time to get our heads wrapped around the science of being so confident in the vaccine. And here in Dane County, it allows us more time to get our 12 to 15-year-olds vaccinated, more coverage as well.
There's been a lot of talk about this honor system when it comes to fully vaccinated people not having to wear masks and people who may not be fully vaccinated taking it off and just saying that they're fully vaccinated. Do you think there needs to be a proof system, or do you agree with the honor system? What do you suggest to businesses who might suggest that people who aren't fully vaccinated should continue to wear a mask, but fully vaccinated people don't have to?
I I think, the best thing we can continue to do is to ask people to get vaccinated. I know that it's hard, but we have great coverage, and to continue to push that, getting the vaccine coverage, more folks vaccinated. Any other questions?
How does it feel to be at this point?
Who wants to start with that?
Well, I don't want to speak for Janel, but I imagine that she and all of our public health colleagues are probably feeling a certain amount of relief. It's been an incredibly long year for all of us. I feel optimistic. I think, again, we live in an incredible place. For us to have the levels of vaccination that we see already and to be on pace for even higher levels when this order expires is really, it gives me a sense of hope. I feel really good about the way that we're collectively taking care of each other. And I think that, we are going to have to continue to do that, to take care of each other, and to recognize that we don't all have the same levels of comfort with different risks. And so we, as a community, I think really need to normalize folks continuing to wear masks. As Janel said earlier, we really want our kiddos that are not yet eligible for vaccination to be safe, and for them that probably does mean continuing to wear masks. It may mean that their whole family in solidarity wants to continue to wear masks. We know that there are people who are immunocompromised that will continue to wear masks. I've heard folks just saying that their asthma is better with a mask on, or that they, didn't get a cold all year long, and they think it's because they were wearing masks and washing their hands. So we need to accept that people will have different levels of comfort with risk. And I feel really good about that. I feel like, we're in a place where we can continue to take care of each other. At the same time, we can start to open up more and enjoy everything that Madison has to offer in the summertime. And I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you all. Thank you. Appreciate you coming.